Hello everyone and welcome in at Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Wednesday, July 9th. If you join me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. When we go over my core picks, it's going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher, 4 hitters, and that's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. After that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday slate overall. In the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report that of any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher, and then I will also be posting as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening down in that comment section as well. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down there so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information as possible. But without further ado, we'll get right into it with the core picks. We are going to start off at that pitcher position with Dylan Cease of the San Diego Padres. He's $9,000, averaging just over 30 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's got some pretty decent history versus them. He had 2 starts against them last year in 2024 where he had 40 and 51 fantasy points. So definitely some pretty good upside to be had there with him. And if we take a look at what he's done so far on the season, it's been very, very hit or miss. 3 wins, ERA's at 4.62. There's been some rough starts there, but do like the upside in this matchup going against the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you really want to play a different pitcher, feel free to mix and match at that pitcher position. Not a lot of true standout names at the top, but a lot of guys that could have some potential upside at the end of the day. And once again, he's currently averaging over 30 fantasy points per game at $9,000. And then with that being said, we'll get moved down to our hitters. We're going to start off with Wilson Contreras of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's $3,100, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Washington Nationals, and Mackenzie Gore is their expected starting pitcher. He is 8 for 13 with 1 home run versus Mackenzie Gore in his career, so some pretty good history at that. And if we look at what Wilson Contreras has done as of late, he has at least 1 hit in 6 out of the last 7 games that he has started. 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run. The downside is only 1 double-digit performance, but he does have 4 games of 9 fantasy points or higher, so kind of a little bit lower floor. Does have some decent upside. If he's a guy that you really truly don't want to play in your lineup, you don't have to, but banking on some of that past history versus Mackenzie Gore at the same time as well. If we take a look at what he's done so far in the season, .250 batting average, 11 home runs, 51 RBIs, once again averaging over 10 fantasy points per game at $3,100. Then we move down to second base with Luis Arraez. If you really want to, you could slide him over to first base at the same time as well. He's at $2,700, averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game. Going against the Arizona Diamondbacks, Brandon Pfaadt is the expected starting pitcher for them, and he is 10 for 16 versus Brandon Pfaadt in his career, 4-game hitting streak as we do speak. 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 0 home runs because, Luis Arraez doesn't have a ton of power, but he is a hit machine just in general. 2 double-digit performances, and 3 of those games he has at least 9 fantasy points or higher. He is a relatively cheap player, once again, solid, steady, safe option, so can't really go wrong with him here. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, .292 batting average, 4 home runs, 34 RBIs, once again averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game at $2,700. Then we move down to shortstop with Corey Seager of the Texas Rangers. He's $3,400, averaging just under 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He is going against the Los Angeles Angels. Kyle Hendricks is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is 3 for 9 versus Kyle Hendricks in his career. And if we look at what Corey Seager's done as of late, he has at least 1 hit in 11 out of his last 12 games, 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 5 home runs, so the power has definitely been there. 8 double-digit performances in all 11 games that he has at least 1 hit in. He's got at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So definitely do like the floor of Corey Seager as of late. Good to see him back, kind of healthy, swinging the bat well once again, and the potential upset at the same time as well. If we look at what he's done on the season in totality, .245 batting average, 12 home runs, 27 RBIs, and once again averaging just under 10.5 fantasy points per game at $3,400. And then last but not least, we're going to move down to the outfield with Roman Anthony. He's up to $3,000 at this point in time, averaging just over 9 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Colorado Rockies. It is Antonio Senzatella on the mound for that Rockies team. And with that being said, Roman Anthony has no career history versus Antonio Senzatella, but it is a very good matchup overall. He is on a modest 5-game hitting streak, 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, 3 double-digit performances in all 5 games. He has at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So definitely like the floor of Roman Anthony, what he's been doing as of late. Does have a little bit of upset at the same time as well, going against a very attractive matchup. And if we look at what he's done so far on his young season, .253 batting average, 2 home runs, 12 RBIs, once again averaging just over 9 fantasy points per game at $3,000. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $13,800 remaining, just over $3,400 remaining per player. So in that case, we do have quite a bit of money to spend up. Obviously, like I mentioned, don't have to play all 4 of these hitters together, but definitely feel free to mix and match. 11-game main slate on a Wednesday. It's a little bit larger Wednesday slate than we typically do see, so definitely feel free to mix and match as you do see fit. But with that being said, we'll give it over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday slate overall. So we are going to start off with the Boston Red Sox. They are going against Antonio Senzatella of the Colorado Rockies. It's a very, very attractive matchup. However, a lot of this Boston Red Sox team has not faced Antonio Senzatella in the past, so there is a little bit of concern there from that regard, but it is just that really good, attractive matchup. Then we have the Texas Rangers going against Kyle Hendricks. A little bit of limited history there in the past, but a lot of their more experienced players have hit Kyle Hendricks really well in the past, whether that's Corey Seager or Marcus Semien. And then we move over to Atlanta Braves. They're going against Mitch Spence. No history versus them in the past, but it does look like a really attractive matchup just in general. The same thing can be said about the New York Mets as they go against Tomoyuki Sagano, who has not been pitching quite as well in his 4 or 5 most recent starts for that Baltimore Orioles team. Mets have no history versus him in the past, but there is really good upside to be had there at that. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday, July 9th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report. They'll have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I will be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date information as possible. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core picks, typically Monday through Friday. Obviously missed the first couple of days this week since I was traveling, getting back and everything else like that. So I do once again apologize for that. And then I do also have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week. Typically that comes out on Wednesdays. This week it will probably be coming out on Thursday since the first game of the week is on Friday, so that we have as much of the injury report, as much as the news and depth charts and everything else like that as possible by the time I do make that video. So definitely feel free to check that out if that's something you're into at the same time as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Prize Picks and BetUS. If you're a brand new user to either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Wednesday, July 9th.